So once you've powered up your Raspberry Pi APRS station, you probably want to connect to it. And the best way to do that, if you don't know the IP address and you need to set the wireless home network credentials, is to put the Raspberry Pi into a default SSID and password. To do that, there's a menu inside the Raspberry Pi that gets activated with this little push button here. Normally this will blink once every 10 seconds when everything is fine, but you can get into a menu here and make it do other things. So one of those things is to set it to option number 4, which is your mobile Wi-Fi. I call it mobile because you will, the easiest thing to do is just to set your mobile phone with these preset SSID and pre-shared keys to APRS RPi. All of that is in lowercase. Sorry, I've written it in uppercase, but it expects it to be in lowercase. So APRS RPi. And to get it into that mode, it would make sense to first put your phone into that mode and then reboot the Raspberry Pi. Okay, so what we'll do first is on Android, in this case, we set our mobile hotspot up. And it says here, that's the SSID, the name, and this is the password to connect to it. And both of these need to be APRS RPi. So I'll change that one. No, details. Name. Get rid of that. APRS RPi. And we do the same for the password. APRS RPi. Go save. And now what we can do is we can turn on our mobile hotspot. The next thing we can do is then use a laptop or some other network device to connect to the mobile phone hotspot. So we'll look up a list of wireless access points. Here is the APRS RPi, and we can connect to that. Password APRS RPi, connect. And connected. So that gives us internet connectivity and connectivity to our phone as a hotspot. The next step is to go to the Raspberry Pi and turn that option 4 in the menu on. To set the Raspberry Pi in menu number 4, what we do is we press the button twice. Leave about a second in between. So I press it once and I press it again, and now it starts blinking a bit. And when I press it again, that's one long one, so that's menu option 1. Press it again, another 2 beeps, so that's menu option number 2. Press it again, 3 beeps, so that's menu option number 3, and menu option number 4. That's now active. So if I now just leave that for a couple of seconds, it will automatically detect the menu option that I selected. It says now set as wireless client, and it will reboot and it will attempt to connect to the phone as a hotspot with those preset SSID and pre-shared key values. The reboot does take a while, but after a couple of seconds when it comes up, it will actually show you on the display what the IP address is. It will also blink out the IP address in Morse code on the LED. So we can wait for that. And again, it does take a while to to show. Hopefully you can see the light blinking as it comes up. Takes about a good 2 minutes or so. So now it's starting up. WCL, that's in Morse code, wireless client. Here's the IP address, 43205. And it says APRS, also in Morse code. Okay, so now we're back at the laptop, and let's type in the IP address that we discovered earlier, 192.168.43.205. That should be the address that the Raspberry Pi is on. And there it is. So what we do now is we log in. Password APRS. And from here we can then go to System. We can go to Network. So we'll click on Edit Wi-Fi Config. And this is straight editing a file on the Linux file system. And here we can enter the SSID, the network name of your wireless access point that you want your Raspberry Pi to connect to. In this case, I'll use a fictitious name here, but you can update this with your SSID and password, the pre-shared key, to connect. Once you've done that, you click on Save, and then we restart the Raspberry Pi in the home network mode. So let's do that. Okay, so now rebooting the Raspberry Pi with the menu option number 3, the home Wi-Fi. So we press the button once, press it again. One along is first menu, second menu. That is our home Wi-Fi menu. So we'll leave it there for a couple of seconds until it confirms that it's going to do something. Here we go. Again, rebooting, setting as a wireless client. And this boot process will take another 2 minutes or so. And then when it comes up, it will show you the IP address that it is connected to. So now it's starting back up, and in a second it should show you the IP address. Here we go, 10.0.0.55, and I can confirm that that is on my home network. And that means that the Wi-Fi credentials we just updated on the website were correct, and it can find the access point and connect to it. And that is also the new IP address that you can use to connect to the Raspberry Pi from here on. So with that done, it's probably a good idea to disable the wireless hotspot from your mobile phone, and then use your computer to connect to the Raspberry Pi again to set up your call sign and your coordinates. So now we need to connect to the new IP address, but before we can, we need to make sure that we are connected to our correct home network. In this case, for me, that's Telstra Home. And then we can navigate to the new IP address, 10.0.0.55. And there it is. So to set your coordinates and your call sign, you would log in again, APRS as the password, go to APRS, go to config. So then we click on edit direwolf.conf and we look for the area where the call sign is being set, as well as a description and your GPS coordinates. Most of this stuff you can just leave as is, but we see here something for my call. You need to update that with your call sign and your, interestingly, it's also called an SSID, but that's for APRS. I use the -10 for an iGate. Further down we look for how we connect to the internet. That is here, Internet Gateway. We pick a server. For me that's in Australia, AUNZ. And here we have our login and our password to connect to the Internet Gateway. And then underneath that we have our beacon, and that basically tells the internet where on the map they should put a marker for where we are, the symbol that we use, which is an iGate, and a description here of what will appear in, for instance, APRS.fi. That's pretty much it for there. So you click save on that one. AX ports, I tend to update that one as well, so just put your call sign in there. Can leave everything else as is. Click save on that. And sound modem, it's probably not that useful, but I tend to make everything the same, so update your call sign in here as well, and that's all you need to do. So I'll click save on that, and once you've done that you can go to, you can either do a reboot or you can just restart Direwolf. So you can go to APRS menu, start stop, and there we have start and stop Direwolf. I need to get rid of these two for APRX. You would go for restart Direwolf, and everything will then be up to date and ready for action.